The message came on a Tuesday. It crackled through the deep space receivers at NASA's listening station in New Mexico. At first, the technicians thought it was just noise from a distant star, but then patterns emerged. Numbers, symbols, a call for help. Olivia Wright was drinking her third cup of coffee when her phone rang. As the head of NASA's deep space communications, she was used to late-night calls. But this one was different. "Dr. Wright, you need to come in now," said the voice. On the other end, "We picked up a signal. It's not from Earth." 30 minutes later, Olivia stood in front of a wall of screens, her eyes wide. The message was clear now. An alien fleet was in trouble. Their engines were failing. Their ships were drifting toward a field of asteroids. 3 million lives were at risk. "How far away are they?" she asked. 20 light years, replied Alan, her assistant. "In the Orion arm." Olivia rubbed her eyes. "And how long until they hit the asteroids?" 60 days, give or take." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Even the fastest human ships would take nearly a month to reach them. That would leave barely enough time for repairs. "We need to tell the president," Olivia said. Finally. The White House meeting started at dawn. Military leaders, scientists, and space experts filled the room. The president looked tired but focused. "So we've been contacted by aliens," she said, "and they need our help." Admiral Peter Gordon cleared his throat. "Madam President, we don't know if this is real. It could be a trap." "The signal includes detailed information about their ships," Olivia countered. "Their technology is different from ours, but we can understand it. Their main engines are damaged. They can't steer away from the asteroid field." "Who are they?" asked the president. "They call themselves the Zillarans," said Olivia. "From what we can tell, they're refugees. Their sun went nova, and they had to leave their planet. They've been traveling for years." Jack Nelson sat quietly at the end of the table. As commander of Earth's best rescue ship, he knew he would be called on if they decided to help. He studied the alien ship designs on his tablet. They were elegant, built more for beauty than for war. "We could reach them in 30 days at maximum speed," he said, breaking his silence. "That would give us a month to fix their ships and get them moving again." Admiral Gordon shook his head. "It's too risky. We've never sent ships that far before, and we don't know anything about these aliens." "They're asking for help," Jack said simply. "That's all I need to know." The president stood up. She walked to the window and looked out at the early morning sky. "Throughout human history, we've wondered if we're alone in the universe. Now we know we're not, and our first contact with another species is a cry for help." She turned back to the room. "If we ignore it, what does that say about us?" One by one, the people around the table nodded. "Commander Nelson," the president said, "prepare your ships. You leave as soon as possible." The next 3 days were a blur of activity. 5 of Earth's fastest and strongest ships were prepared for the journey. The Salvation, the Horizon, the Venture, the Mercury, and the flagship Endeavor, which Jack would command. Engineers worked day and night to push the engines beyond their normal limits. Scientists packed equipment they thought might help repair alien technology. Doctors studied the limited information about Zillaran biology. Samantha Kelly hadn't slept in 2 days. As chief engineer of the Endeavor, she was responsible for the experimental warp drives that would get them to the Zillaran fleet. She was making final adjustments when Jack found her in the engine room. "How are they looking?" he asked. Sam wiped grease from her hands. "If we push them to 120%, we can make it in 28 days. That gives us a little extra time." "And will they hold together at 120%? Sam smiled weakly. "I guess we'll find out." Jack put his hand on her shoulder. "Get some sleep, Sam. We launch tomorrow." The ships were loaded in Earth's orbit. 5,000 men and women volunteered for the mission. Only the best were chosen: engineers, pilots, doctors, and soldiers. Many had families they were leaving behind. All knew the risks. Nina Rodriguez joined the crew of the Endeavor at the last minute. As Earth's top expert on alien languages, she had spent the past days studying the Zillaran message. "Their language is beautiful," she told Jack as they prepared for launch. It's based on mathematics and music. Will you be able to talk to them when we arrive? Jack asked. I think so, Nina said. The universal translator should work, but understanding their culture will be harder. They're so different from us. How different? From what I can tell, they've never had a war. Their society is built on art and science. They don't even have a word for enemy. Jack thought about that as he walked to the bridge for the final launch preparations. A peaceful species, facing extinction. If humans couldn't help them, who would? The 5 ships lined up in Earth's orbit. Millions watched from the planet below. This was humanity's first deep space rescue mission, its first contact with alien life. All ships report ready, Commander, said his communications officer. Jack looked around the bridge. His crew was young but capable. They believed in the mission, they believed in him. Send a message to the Zellerans, Jack ordered. Tell them we're on our way. He sat in the captain's chair and took a deep breath. All ships prepare for warp. Maximum speed. The stars stretched into lines of light as the human rescue fleet leaped into the darkness between worlds. Their journey had begun. 20 light years of unknown space lay ahead of them. A race against time to save 3 million lives, and across that vast distance the Zellerans watched Earth's signal and felt something they had almost lost. Hope. Space stretched endlessly before them. Stars burned like distant candles. The 5 human ships pushed through the darkness faster than any human vessel had ever traveled before. Inside the Endeavour, Jack checked the ship status for the 5th time. That day, the engines were holding at 120%. They were on schedule, but the journey was taking its toll. Engine 3 is running hot, Samantha reported from her station. I've adjusted the cooling systems, but we need to watch it. Can we maintain this speed? Jack asked. Sam nodded, but her face was tight with worry. For now. But these engines weren't designed to run this hard for this long. It was day 8 of their journey. They had traveled farther from Earth than any human before them. The crew moved through their duties with quiet focus. Everyone understood what was at stake. In the communications center, Nina and Alan worked to improve contact with the Zellerans. The vast distance made conversations difficult. Messages took hours to travel each way, but slowly, they learned more about the aliens they were racing to save. They've sent more information about their ships, Nina told Jack during the daily briefing, and some history of their people. She showed him images of the Zelleran homeworld now lost forever. It had been beautiful, with purple oceans and golden cities that rose like music made solid. The Zellerans themselves were tall and slender, with skin that changed color to show their emotions. They're thousands of years more advanced than us. In some ways, Nina explained. Their art, their philosophy, their understanding of mathematics. But they focused less on engines and weapons. They never expected to have to leave their homeworld so quickly. Why would humans come so far to help strangers? The question was from the Zelleran elder named Terax. It had taken a full day to receive this response to Jack's earlier message. Jack thought carefully before answering. Because we can, and because someday we might need help too. On day 12, disaster struck. The Venture's main warp drive failed. Warning alarms blared throughout the ship as Captain Laura Wilson fought to stabilize their flight path. All hands brace for deceleration, she ordered. Her crew grabbed hold of anything solid as the ship dropped suddenly out of warp. The sudden shift threw people against walls and floors. Equipment broke free and scattered across rooms. The other 4 ships quickly responded, dropping out of warp themselves to avoid leaving the Venture behind. Damage report? Jack asked as soon as communication was restored. Laura's face appeared on the screen, a cut visible above her eye. Main warp drive is completely fried. We have impulse engines only now. No casualties, but we won't be keeping up with you. The 5 captains met virtually to discuss their options. No one said the obvious. The Venture now had no chance of reaching the Zelleran fleet in time. We'll continue at sublight speed, Laura said firmly. We'll follow your path. Maybe we'll arrive in time to help with the evacuation. We can wait, Jack began, but Laura cut him off. No. 3 million lives are waiting for you. We'll be fine. Just save those people. It was a hard choice, but the right one. The 4 remaining ships returned to warp, leaving the Venture behind. The crew of the damaged ship watched them go, knowing they had just agreed to months of lonely travel through empty space. On the Endeavor, Sam spent her days in the engine room, coaxing every bit of speed from the straining warp drives. The sound they made had changed, a high whine that hadn't been there before. It worried her, but she didn't tell Jack. They had no choice but to push forward. Nina continued to learn about the Zellerans. Their society is based on connection, she explained to the crew during a rare meal together. Each individual is valued for what they contribute to the whole. They don't have countries or borders like we do. They see themselves as one people. Hard to imagine, said Rick, one of the security officers. Humans have been fighting each other since the beginning. Maybe that's why we're better at survival, Sam suggested. We've had to fight for everything we have. Or maybe they're better at living, Nina countered. They created art and beauty while we created weapons. Jack listened to the debate with interest. Meeting the Zellarans would change humanity forever, if they succeeded in saving them. Day 15 brought another challenge. The Mercury detected unusual radiation from a nearby star. Captain Greg Daniels reported it might affect their course. It's nothing serious, he assured the other ships. Just a slight adjustment. But hours later, the star flared unexpectedly. A wave of radiation swept toward the human fleet. There was no time to change course. Shields to maximum, Jack ordered. All personnel to shelter areas. The radiation hit like a physical blow. The ships shuddered, lights flickered. For a moment, Jack thought they might lose power completely. Then the wave passed and systems began to recover. Damage report, he called. Around him, the crew checked their stations. Shields held at 82%, reported the defense officer. Minor damage to outer hull sensors. Similar reports came in from the Horizon and the Salvation, but the Mercury had taken a harder hit. Its position in the formation had exposed it more directly to the radiation. We've lost 40% shield capacity, Greg reported, and our long-range sensors are down, but we can keep going. This was just the beginning, Jack knew. Space was full of dangers, and they were traveling too fast to avoid many of them. By day 20, the strain was showing on everyone. Sleep was difficult at such high warp speeds. The constant vibration and noise wore down nerves. Small arguments broke out among crew members. Jack walked the halls of his ship each day, talking to his people, reminding them why they had come. Every person on board had volunteered. They had all known the risks, but knowing and experiencing were different things. We've received new data from the Zellerans, Nina told him on day 23. Their drift toward the asteroid field is accelerating. Their projections show impact in 52 days now, not 60. Jack felt his stomach tighten. Can we go any faster? Sam shook her head when he asked her. We're at the absolute limit now. Any more and we risk a catastrophic drive failure like the Venture. They were committed now. The math gave them barely a week to repair the alien ships once they arrived. It would be enough. It had to be. On day 26, they detected the first signs of the Zelleran fleet on long-range sensors, hundreds of ships drifting slowly through space. They were still too far to see clearly, but the size of the fleet was staggering. They've sent visual contact, Nina reported excitedly. The screen filled with the image of a Zelleran. Its skin shimmered with blue and gold patterns. Its eyes were large and dark, filled with intelligence. Humans of Earth, the alien spoke, its words translated by Nina's program. We see you approaching. We had calculated a 97% chance that help would not arrive in time. You have defied our calculations. Jack stepped forward so the camera could capture him. We still have a lot of work to do, but we'll be there soon. Hold on a little longer. The Zelleran made a gesture that Nina later explained was similar to a human bow. We will prepare for your arrival. Our remaining engineers are ready to work with yours. As the transmission ended, a cheer went up from the crew. For the first time, they had seen the people they were racing to save. It made everything more real, more urgent. On the morning of day 28, as predicted, the human fleet arrived at the edge of the Zelaran convoy. The sight took their breath away. Over 200 ships, many larger than anything humans had built, spread out across space like a floating city. The 4 human vessels seemed tiny in comparison, but they carried what the Zelarans needed most: hope. All ships, standard formation, Jack ordered. Prepare for first contact procedures. The human rescue mission had reached its destination, but the hardest part was still ahead. The human ships moved slowly through the vast alien fleet. From the bridge of the Endeavor, Jack could see the Zelaran vessels clearly now. They were beautiful, shaped like leaves or shells, with smooth curves instead of the sharp angles of human ships. Their main command vessel is requesting permission to dock with us, Alan reported from the communications station. Jack nodded. Grant permission. Prepare the meeting room. And tell Dr. Rodriguez to join us. The docking process was smooth. The Zelaran ship connected with the Endeavor as if they had practiced it 100 times. Jack waited with Nina and Samantha as the airlock cycled. None of them spoke. This moment would be remembered in human history forever. The first face-to-face meeting with an alien species. The inner door slid open. 3 Zelarans stood there. They were tall, nearly 7 feet with slender bodies. Their skin shimmered with changing colors, currently a mix of green and blue. Their faces were almost human in arrangement. 2 eyes, a nose-like structure, a mouth. But the proportions were different. Their eyes were larger, darker, and seemed to take in everything at once. "Welcome to the Endeavor," Jack said, stepping forward. "I'm Commander Jack Nelson." The tallest Zelaran made a flowing gesture, with long fingers. "I am Elder Terax," it said, its voice musical even through the translator. "With me are Chief Engineer Kren and Life Sciences Director Mila. We bring the gratitude of our people." Nina stepped forward and attempted to repeat the Zelaran gesture. Terax's skin flashed with yellow. A sign of pleasure, Nina had learned. "You have studied our ways," Terax observed. "We want to understand," Nina replied. "To help better." The group moved to the meeting room. More humans joined them, engineers, scientists, and medical personnel. The Zelarans moved with a fluid grace that made the humans seem clumsy in comparison. "We have little time," Jack said once everyone was seated. "Our scans show your fleet will reach the asteroid field in 48 days. 46, corrected Kren, the Zelaran engineer. "Our drift has accelerated slightly." Samantha leaned forward. "We need to understand exactly what's wrong with your engines. Our technology is different from yours. We may need to adapt our solutions." Kren's skin darkened to a deep blue. "The radiation from our dying sun damaged our primary fusion systems. We had to leave quickly, with many ships only partially prepared for the journey. We lost many of our most skilled engineers in the evacuation." The Zelaran brought out a device that projected a hologram of their engine design. Samantha's eyes widened as she studied it. "It's more advanced than ours in some ways," she said. "But I can see the problem. The containment fields are failing because of radiation damage to the control systems." The meeting lasted for hours. The humans and Zelarans compared technologies, found common ground, and began to form a plan. Jack watched with pride as his crew worked alongside the aliens. Humanity's first contact was going well. "We will need to inspect the damaged ships directly," Samantha concluded, "starting with the largest vessels that can then help tow the smaller ones." "We have arranged transport," Terax said. "We can begin immediately." As the meeting ended, Jack took Terax aside. "There's something I don't understand. Your people have been traveling through space much longer than humans. How did you end up in this situation?" Terax's skin shifted to a soft purple. "We are explorers and artists, Commander, not warriors or survival specialists. When our sun began to die, we had little warning. We had to evacuate 3 billion people. We saved 3 million, the greatest loss in our history." The emotion in the alien's voice needed no translation. Jack placed a hand briefly on Terax's arm. "We'll help you save those 3 million. For the next 2 days, human teams spread throughout the Zelaran fleet. They were transported on small shuttlecraft to the largest refugee ships. Each human engineer was paired with a Zelleran counterpart. Each human doctor worked with a Zelleran life scientist. Samantha went to the Zelleran flagship, a massive vessel carrying nearly 50,000 refugees. The engine room was vast, larger than the entire Endeavor. But the principles were familiar. Energy, contained and directed. Power, harnessed and controlled. Your approach is different, Kren observed as Samantha examined the damaged systems. You look at each part individually. We see the whole system as one entity. Both approaches have value, Samantha replied. She pointed to a section of damaged circuitry. These control boards are completely fried. We'll need to replace them with something from our ships. Kren's skin flashed with concern. But your technology is not compatible with ours. Samantha smiled. Then we'll make it compatible. On another ship, Nina worked with Mila to help the human medical teams understand Zelleran biology. The refugees had been in space for nearly 3 years. Many were suffering from health problems. Your people's willingness to help strangers is fascinating to us, Mila said as they watched a human doctor treat a young Zelleran child. It is not a trait we expected to find in a species so young. Young? Nina asked. Your civilization. It is very new compared to ours. We have records going back 15,000 of your years. Nina blinked in surprise. And in all that time you never encountered hostile aliens, never had to develop defenses. We encountered other species, yes, but never with hostility. The Bull. Universe is vast. Resources are plentiful if you know where to look. Why would advanced beings fight? The question made Nina think. Humans had always fought. For land, for resources, for ideas. It was hard to imagine a world without conflict. Back on the Endeavor, Jack coordinated the rescue effort. Reports came in from the human team spread throughout the Zelleran fleet. The damage was worse than they had expected. Nearly half of the alien ships had serious engine problems. Some were beyond repair with the time and resources available. We need a new plan, he told his officers during an emergency meeting. We can't fix all the ships in time. Kevin, one of the younger engineers, spoke up. What if we don't have to fix all of them? What if the working ships could tow the others? The strain would be too much, objected another engineer. They'd never clear the asteroid field in time. Kevin leaned forward. Not with their current shield configuration. But what if we adapted our shield technology to work with theirs? Create a protective bubble around groups of ships? The idea sparked a flurry of discussion. It might work. It would require sharing advanced human technology with the Zellerans, but that seemed a small price to pay for saving 3 million lives. Make it happen, Jack ordered. While the engineers worked on the new shield plan, other problems arose. Food supplies on some Zelleran ships were running low. Their hydroponic gardens had been damaged in the evacuation. Human ships began transferring emergency rations, though no one was sure if they would be compatible with Zelleran biology. Our scientists believe your food will not harm us, Terax assured Jack, though the taste may be challenging. On the 5th day after their arrival, a new crisis emerged. A solar flare from a nearby star sent a wave of radiation toward the refugee fleet. The Zelleran ships, with their damaged systems, would be especially vulnerable. The radiation will further damage their engines, Sam reported. Set back our repair efforts by days or weeks. Jack studied the tactical display. The Mercury was closest to the incoming radiation front. Without hesitation, he opened a channel. Captain Daniels, position your ship between the flare and the main Zelleran fleet. Use your shields as a buffer. Greg's reply was immediate. Already moving into position, Commander. The crew of the Mercury worked quickly to boost their shield output to maximum. As the radiation wave hit, the ship shuddered under the impact. Warning alarms blared. Systems overloaded. Shield strength at 60% and falling, reported the Mercury's defense officer. Divert power from propulsion and life support, Greg ordered. Hold those shields. For 6 tense minutes, the Mercury stood firm against the radiation. When it finally passed, the ship had suffered significant damage, but the Zelleran fleet behind, it was safe. The aliens were stunned by the human ship's actions. Your vessel deliberately placed itself in danger to protect others, Tarak said to Jack. This is not logical behavior. It's very human behavior, Jack replied. We protect those who need protection. Tarax's skin shifted to a color Jack hadn't seen before, a deep gold that seemed to glow from within. Then we have much to learn from humanity. As the first week of their rescue mission ended, Jack called his officers together for a status report. The news was mixed. They had made progress on repairing the largest Zelleran ships, but many smaller vessels were still vulnerable. The shield adaptation project was promising but untested. We're running out of time, Sam warned. The asteroid field is getting closer every day. And we've detected something else, added the science officer. The field is denser than we thought. There are large metallic asteroids that our sensors didn't pick up initially. They'll be harder to deflect or destroy. Jack looked around at his team. They were tired. They had been working around the clock. But they weren't giving up. We came 20 light years to save these people, he said. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Whatever it takes. As he spoke, Nina hurried into the room. Commander, Dr. Wright has found something in the Zelleran star charts. There's a potentially habitable system just beyond the asteroid field. If we can get the fleet through. 9 days remained until the Zelleran fleet would reach the asteroid field. The countdown was displayed on screens throughout the human ships. Every engineer, every scientist, every crew member felt the pressure of those numbers. Samantha hadn't slept in 30 hours. She moved between the engine rooms of 3 different Zelleran ships, coordinating repair teams. Human and alien worked side by side, adapting parts, rewiring systems, finding solutions that neither species would have discovered. Alone, the main drive on the Zelleran flagship is responding, Samantha reported to Jack. Her voice was tired but triumphant. They have 20% propulsion capability now. That's not enough to clear the asteroid field, Jack said. No, but it's enough to steer. And if Kevin's shield plan works, it might be enough. Kevin Patel had become the leader of what the crews now called Project Bubble. His idea was to modify the human ship's shield generators to create a protective network around groups of Zelleran vessels. The math works, Kevin explained during the daily briefing. If we position our ships at these coordinates within their fleet, we can extend our shields to cover their most vulnerable vessels. Our shields weren't designed for this, objected the chief engineer from the Salvation. The power drain will be enormous. We've been working with the Zellerans on that, Kevin countered. They have ways of amplifying energy that we never considered. By combining our technologies, we can make this work. Jack studied the proposed formation. It would place the human ships at the points of highest risk. If anything went wrong, they would take the brunt of the impact. How many Zelleran ships can we protect this way, he asked. All of them, Kevin said confidently. But we'll need to move as one unit. Perfect coordination. The plan was approved. While repair work continued on the Zelleran engines, other teams began installing the modified shield generators. The human ships would need to dock with key Zelleran vessels to create the energy linkages. Dr. Olivia Wright spent every waking hour studying the star system they had discovered beyond the asteroid field. The more she learned, the more excited she became. It's perfect, she told Jack and Tarax during a rare break. 2 planets in the habitable zone. Atmospheric composition similar to the Zelleran homeworld. No signs of intelligent life, but abundant plant and animal species. Tarax's skin rippled with colors of hope. A new beginning for our people. If we can get there, Jack reminded them, first we have to navigate through the asteroids. The task seemed more impossible each day. New scans revealed the asteroid field was denser than initially thought. Some of the space rocks were the size of small moons. Others contained high concentrations of metals that would make them difficult to deflect. We need to find a path, Jack told his navigation team. A corridor wide enough for the entire fleet. The navigators worked day and night, plotting and replotting courses. Computer simulations ran constantly, but every potential path had obstacles that could destroy ships on impact. 7 days before the fleet would reach the asteroid field, the Venture finally rejoined them. The ship had pushed its sublight engines to their limits, arriving weeks earlier than expected. Its warp drive was still inoperable, but the crew was eager to help. "We can't participate in the shield network," Captain Laura explained when she met with Jack. "But we can help with navigation. Our sensors picked up something interesting on our approach." She showed him the Venture's scan results. There was a natural corridor through one section of the asteroid field. It wasn't perfect. There were still obstacles, but it offered the best chance of getting most of the fleet through. "Good work," Jack said. "This could make the difference." He turned to leave, but Laura stopped him. "There's something else. The corridor is stable now, but our projections show a cluster of metallic asteroids moving into it 3 days after. We reach the field. Can we get through before that happens?" Laura shook her head. "Not with the entire fleet. The Zelleran ships are too slow even with repairs." Jack felt a chill. They were so close to saving these people. To give up now was unthinkable. "Keep working on it," he told Laura. "There has to be a way." As the days passed, more Zelleran ships regained limited propulsion capabilities, but many remained helpless, drifting with the current. The plan to use human shields and Zelleran tow ships was their only hope. Kevin supervised the installation of the new shield technology. It was delicate work. One mistake could blow out an entire power grid. "The energy transfer nodes are in place on all 4 human ships," he reported. "We're testing the links with the Zellaran vessels now." The tests were promising. When activated, the human shields expanded to encompass nearby Zellaran ships, but the power drain was significant. The human vessels would have limited propulsion while maintaining the shields. "We'll be vulnerable," Jack told his captains. "If any large asteroids make it through the shields, we won't be able to maneuver quickly to avoid them." "We knew the risks when we volunteered," Greg replied from the Mercury. The other captains nodded in agreement. 5 days before reaching the asteroid field, a new problem emerged. One of the largest Zellaran ships, carrying over 40,000 refugees, suffered a catastrophic power failure. Its life support systems began to shut down. "We're looking at complete system failure in 8 hours, Samantha reported from the scene. "We need to evacuate the refugees to other ships." But the other Zelleran vessels were already overcrowded. There was nowhere to put 40,000 people. "What about our ships?" Jack suggested. Sam's eyes widened. "The Endeavor could maybe take 5,000. All 4 human ships together. Maybe 15,000. That still leaves." "I know. But it's better than nothing. Begin evacuation procedures. Priority to children and medical cases." The evacuation was chaotic but orderly. Zelleran families were separated as some members boarded human vessels while others remained behind. The aliens showed remarkable calm in the face of disaster. There were no arguments, no fights for position. Each accepted their place with dignity. Jack walked among the Zellaran refugees, now crowded into every available space on the Endeavor. They were quiet, their skin colors subdued. Many had lost everything when their son died. Now they faced losing their lives as well. A Zelleran child approached Jack. Its skin was pale blue, its large eyes curious rather than afraid. "Will we find a new home?" the child asked through a portable translator. Jack knelt down to eye level. "Yes. There's a beautiful system just beyond the asteroid field, with oceans and mountains and plenty of space for everyone." The child's skin brightened slightly. "Thank you for helping us." Those simple words hit Jack harder than any praise from his superiors ever had. This was why they had come. Not for glory or scientific discovery, but for moments like this. 4 days before the asteroid field, the shield network was ready for a full-scale test. All 4 human ships activated their modified generators simultaneously. Energy flowed between them, creating a vast protective bubble that encompassed nearly a third of the Zelleran fleet. "Power consumption is at acceptable levels," Kevin reported. "The Zelleran amplifiers are working." "And the tow ships?" Jack asked. "The 6 largest Zelleran vessels with restored engines are in position. Each can tow 4 or 5 smaller ships." The formation was taking shape. A core of powered vessels surrounded by those still adrift, all protected by the human shield network. It might work. It had to work. 3 days before the asteroid field, disaster struck again. A previously undetected solar flare hit the fleet from an unexpected direction. The Mercury, still damaged from the previous radiation event, took the brunt of the impact. Multiple system failures, Greg reported through static. Shields are down, main power is fluctuating. Jack immediately ordered repair teams to the Mercury. But the damage was severe. The ship that had twice placed itself in harm's way to protect others was now crippled. Can you restore shield capability? Jack asked Sam after she inspected the damage. She shook her. The first hour inside the asteroid field was tense but manageable. Small rocks bounced off the shield network. Larger ones were avoided by slight adjustments to their course. The combined fleet moved slowly but steadily along the corridor that the Venture had discovered. Jack stood on the bridge of the Endeavour watching the tactical display. Every ship was represented by a green dot. Every asteroid by a red one. There were far too many red dots. Shield status? He asked. Holding at 87%, Kevin reported. The Zelleran energy amplifiers are working better than expected. From her station, Olivia monitored the path ahead. The cluster of metallic asteroids will be in our path in approximately 40 minutes. We need to make a decision before then. The cluster was the most dangerous obstacle they faced. Dozens of large, dense asteroids moving together, too many to avoid, too solid to deflect, too massive to destroy. Jack opened a channel to all ships. Captain Wilson, is the Venture in position? Laura's voice came through clearly. Yes, Commander. We're at the head of the fleet. Good. Stand by for my orders. The Venture had volunteered for the most dangerous role in their journey. With its warp drive still disabled, it had the most powerful conventional engines in the fleet. It would go ahead of the main group, using its sensors to identify the best path through the metallic cluster. As they approached the cluster, Jack felt the tension rise on the bridge. Every person knew what was at stake. 3 million lives depended on their next decisions. We're detecting movement within the cluster, Olivia reported suddenly. The asteroids are shifting position. Natural movement, Jack asked. Olivia shook her head. No, the pattern is too regular. It's almost as if... She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Jack saw it too. The asteroids were moving to block every possible path through the cluster, as if they were being controlled. Scan for energy signatures, he ordered. Anything that might indicate artificial control. The scan revealed nothing, but the movement continued. Wherever the fleet might go, the asteroids shifted to block their path. It can't be coincidence, Sam said. Someone or something doesn't want us to get through. Jack felt a chill. In all their conversations with the Zellarans, there had never been mention of enemies, but space was vast and full of unknowns. Captain Wilson, what do you see from your position? Jack asked. Laura's voice was tight with tension. The asteroids are definitely moving in response to our course adjustments, but I'm not detecting any ships or control mechanisms. Any path through? Jack asked. There was a long pause. No, Laura finally replied. Every direction we turn, they move to block us. It's like trying to run through a forest where the trees keep stepping in front of you. Jack turned to Terax, who stood silently at the back of the bridge. Have your people encountered anything like this before? The Zellaran's skin had turned a dull gray. No. We have legends of ancient species who could manipulate matter at a distance, but we believed them to be myths. Well, someone's moving those asteroids, Jack said, and they don't want your people to survive. The situation was becoming desperate. The main fleet was now only 20 minutes from the cluster. If they couldn't find a path through, 3 million refugees would die. We need to force a path, Jack decided. Captain Wilson, prepare to use the Venture's main cannons to blast a corridor through the densest part of the cluster. Our weapons aren't designed for that kind of output, Laura warned. The strain might rupture our power core. Do what you can, Jack ordered. We'll follow and provide covering fire. The Venture moved ahead of the fleet, its weapons charging. The ship was designed for exploration and rescue, not combat, but its cannons were powerful enough to break apart smaller asteroids. Firing sequence initiated. Laura reported. The Venture's cannons blazed, striking the nearest metallic asteroids. Chunks of rock and metal flew apart. For a moment it seemed to be working. A path began to form through the cluster. But then the asteroids moved again, closing the gap faster than the Venture could clear it. "This isn't working," Laura said. "They're moving too quickly." Jack clenched his fists in frustration. They were so close to saving these people. To give up now was unthinkable. "There has to be a way," he insisted. Nina, who had been quiet until now, stepped forward. "What if it's not an enemy?" she suggested. "What if it's a test?" All eyes turned to her. "Explain," Jack said. "The Zellerans told us they have legends of ancient species. What if one of those species is still watching, testing newcomers to their part of space?" It was a desperate theory, but no more unlikely than anything else they had encountered. Jack turned to Tarax. "Can you communicate with whatever is controlling these asteroids? Make them understand we're trying to help your people?" Tarax's skin flickered with uncertainty. "We can try, but our understanding of such ancient languages would be limited." Nina stepped forward. "I'll help. Between us, we might find a way." While Nina and Tarax worked to craft a message, the fleet came to a complete stop just outside the cluster. Minutes ticked by. The asteroids continued their silent blocking movement. "We're ready," Nina announced. "We've composed a message explaining our mission. It combines elements of Zelleran formal language with mathematical principles that should be universal." Jack nodded. "Send it on all frequencies." The message went out. Silence followed. The asteroids did not change their pattern. "No response," Nina said, disappointment clear in her voice. "Then we go with Plan B," Jack decided. He opened a channel to the Venture. "Captain Wilson, new orders. Pull back from the cluster." Laura acknowledged, but her confusion was evident. "Pulling back, Commander, but what's Plan B?" Jack took a deep breath. "We'll create our own path." His plan was dangerous, perhaps suicidal. The Venture would accelerate to maximum speed and ram directly into the center of the cluster. Its reactor core would be set to overload at the moment of impact. The explosion would scatter the asteroids, creating a brief window for the rest of the fleet to pass through. "That's a one-way trip," Laura said quietly when he explained the plan. "I know. That's why I'm transferring command of the mission to you. I'll take the Venture in myself." Laura's voice hardened. "Negative, Commander. This is my ship, my responsibility." Before Jack could argue, Tarax interrupted. "Wait. The asteroids are moving again." On the tactical display, the cluster was indeed shifting, but not to block their path. Instead, the asteroids were parting, creating a clear corridor directly through the center of the cluster. "They heard us," Nina breathed. They understood. The corridor was narrow but navigable, just wide, enough for the fleet to pass through in single file. "All ships form up," Jack ordered. "Venture in the lead, then the Zellaran vessels with the Endeavor, Horizon, and Salvation maintaining the shield network. Move slowly and precisely." The procession began. One by one, the ships entered the corridor. The metallic asteroids loomed. On either side, close enough to touch. But they remained in position, allowing the fleet to pass. As the last ship cleared the cluster, Jack felt a weight lift from his shoulders. They had passed the test, whatever it was. The path ahead was still dangerous, but now they had a real chance of reaching their destination. For 3 more days, the fleet navigated through the asteroid field. There were close calls and minor impacts, but the shield network held. The Zelleran ships with restored engines helped tow the others. The human vessels maintained their protective positions. Finally, on the 4th day, the last asteroid drifted past them. Open space lay ahead. And beyond that, the star system that Dr. Wright had discovered. "We made it," Sam said, her voice filled with wonder and exhaustion. The celebration spread throughout the fleet. Humans and Zellerans alike shared in the triumph. They had faced impossible odds and survived. Together. 2 weeks later, the fleet reached the outer edges of the star system. Scans confirmed Dr. Wright's findings. 2 habitable planets circled a stable yellow star. One was mostly ocean, with scattered islands. The other had vast continents and shallow seas. Both had breathable atmospheres and abundant plant life. It's perfect, Terex said as they stood together on the Endeavor's observation deck. A new home for our people. Jack nodded. Your ships should be able to handle planetary landing now. We'll help with the initial settlement. Terex's skin shimmered with bright gold patterns. Happiness, Jack had learned. You have done more than enough, Commander. You and your people risked everything for strangers. We will never forget that. The landing operations took another month. The Zelaran ships descended to both planets, establishing initial settlements. The human vessels remained in orbit, providing support and helping to set up communication systems. When the time came for the human fleet to return to Earth, a ceremony was held on the surface of the larger planet. A monument had been erected, a tall spire of white stone that caught the light of the new sun. Elder Terex spoke to the gathered humans and Zelarans. This monument will stand for all time, to remind our people of the day strangers from a distant world came to our rescue. When our call echoed across 20 light years, humanity answered. The elder turned to Jack. We have decided to name this world Nova Terra, in honor of your home. Jack was moved, but shook his head. That's not necessary. It is done, Terex said firmly. And we have one more gift.